Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's Carm Capriato, another Town Hall Academy, week 243. Imagine we've been doing this consistently for that much time. Well, glad to have you here. We got a great topic today. Finally, pulled the trigger on a really big decision. I can relate to that like big time. How many times have we, gotten cold chills and sweats? And am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? And it was so nice that Kim Auernheimer, one of my guests, brought me this particular topic. Appreciate you all being here. Well, we're coming to you live from the Remarkable Results Radio podcast studio. And most recently, what I keep calling this thing is the Carm Cave. All this really, all my stuff up on the walls. My Carm Cave. If you're with us on social media, give us a like, check in with your city, a comment or a share. It's great to have you all here. I'd like to introduce my panel to you. As I said, Kim Auernheimer was so kind to bring me this topic. Kim's from CS Automotive in Brentwood, Tennessee. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Carm. So good to be back.
Good to have you here. Did you escape all that flooding?
We did. Our house and our shop are both up high on the hills. We drove through Waverly a couple weeks ago, and it's devastating. Very heartbreaking.
It's too bad. What a shame. Well, it's been incredible weather period this late summer. Becky McGinnis is with us from Auto Vantage Service Center in Auburn, California. Hey, Becky.
Hey, Carm.
Glad to have you here. You okay?
Yeah.
Ready to go. I love it. And Tina Erickson, Ken's Auto Service in Aurora, Colorado. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Carm. Thank you for having me.
Oh, we're glad to have you here. Listen, I want to stop for just a momento and pay homage to the great people that support the show. Let's face it, technicians are your inventory of time, and it's the only inventory that expires every minute of every day. Now, maximize sales and speed to get the cars moving through your business. Faster is what you want. Learn more at getshopware.com. And are you missing out on customers who call the shop during off hours? Well, with Broadly's web chat feature, customers can get the answers they need even when you're not in the shop. More information, getbroadly.com/chat. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and thanks. Well, ladies, I got to tell you, a great subject. Kim, I think when you called me, I just said yes immediately because I've been there in all my years of being in business and in the industry. And, we sweat really tough decisions. And sometimes when we make those decisions, we get tougher to make the second and the third and the fourth. But often 2 times we hesitate and we watch the stuff. Well, if I had made that decision last week and and you actually, in your mind, if you don't make the decision, you look to see the changes you wanted to make, but you never did and say, oh, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we have a lot of regrets that we didn't make this decision. Sometimes very little we have regrets that we did make the decision. But you know what? Those are what mistakes are about, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, the cool thing, and you guys are going to talk about here, are the results of those great trigger pulling decisions that you made. So, Kim, let's start out. Obviously, decisions are made to produce change typically, right?
Well, and the old adage, if you don't change, if you don't grow, then you die. And I love that the 3 panelists, there's all different layers. Mine's very small. I mean, to me, it was a very small change compared to Tina's per se. So I love that we're going to get the full range of the pulling the trigger levels. But for me, it was changing point of sales. We've been with the same point of sale for about 10 years. And I likened it to wanting to have a divorce for several years, but never really knowing if what was on the other side, the next spouse, the next point of sale was really going to be better. Becky knows during COVID times, we talked several times about, whether it's the time to, sorry about that, to, we're looking at different point of sale systems and if this is the right time or not. But if you don't change, then you're never going to get better. And I mean, Rob and I have been married 27 years, 28 years now. And, I look at that as like, we've had to grow and we've had to change through our marriage for it to be as successful as it is. And the same thing with our business. And that's just tweaking this and tweaking that. And small changes, big changes are very important.
So if I brought Rob on the show right now, Kim, and I said, how much did she change you? What would he say?
Well, he's shaved his mustache since then. A number of things, but I think but you both have to change. I mean, everybody has to change for growth and success.
So Becky, you pulled a trigger about a month ago that was huge. And I have to tell you, the reason that I'm coming to you second is there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines right now going to listen to what you say, and hopefully your story will motivate them.
Oh my. So we purchased a building about 3 years ago, and upstairs is a loft and office. And for 3 years, I've been planning my, move to this office. But it was very difficult. It's taken me 3 years. A lot of it had to do with the fact that I've been in the dailies. I mean, the first 10 years I was there every day and talking to our customers, greeting them, making sure they're taken care of, and had gotten to a point where I felt like nobody could do it as good as I could. And because of that, I tended to micromanage some of my employees. And over the last year, I've been doing a lot of growth on myself and leadership. And one of the things is that I need to rely upon my employees to do what I hired them to do. Last year, I also heard somebody say that it's my job as the owner to take care of my employees to take care of the customer, and then the customer would take care of the business. And for so long, I had made it my focus that my job and all the employees was to take care of the customers. And so when I got into that mindset that my job is actually to take care of my employees, then it helped me shift into working in the business, and have to move into working on the business. And to take care of my employees, I needed to make sure that everything was set up. So making the move about a month ago, it was very traumatizing for me not to be in the dailies, and especially what was that going to look like, because I was used to checking in customers, doing walkarounds, working with the techs, ordering parts, doing end of day. And so I didn't know what that was going to look like moving out of the dailies. So it's been very interesting.
Becky, it's so fresh in your mind. Really share with us that first day, the second day. I mean, obviously, did you go in on the first day that you were really trying to remove yourself, or did you stay home? I mean, what'd you do?
So, the first day was when the decision was made. My husband and I went down and spoke to our 2 service advisors to let them know that I was going to be moving out of the dailies. And it was literally a decision that was a split decision that was made, and I just had to do it. So I literally, after lunch, went in and started moving my stuff upstairs. We had all the furniture, everything was set up here. I just hadn't made the move. So I just started moving everything out. And
were they excited?
I think that they were, for me to let go and to trust them. And that was the biggest thing, is to allow them to do what I hired them to do, and not be in the, what would Becky do anymore, but, what am I trusted to do? And so they know, I've trained them, they know what to do. So I just needed to let go.
Raise your hand if you're guilty of that. Yeah. And kudos to you for making that tough decision. And I just want a quick affirmation. Kim, have you made a big move like that one day?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's kind of, and it's really interesting that Becky brought that, what was it? Your customers you take care of your employees will take care of your customers, will take care of your business. Rob and I just got back from Ratchet and Wrench conference, and the theme of the weekend was take the lead. And so we came back extra energized to make sure that we're doing exactly what Becky said. And so I loved what she said, is we had to take care of our employees. And that's making sure that our policies and procedures are so clear and so defined, and everything is just laid out so that the business is running and we're not having to run it like Becky was saying. So it was a great reminder to go to Ratchet and Wrench and come back and, and have that reinforced, and then to hear Becky say that. But yeah, absolutely, having to step away from the front end. I had a customer come in yesterday, and Rob and I have been in business since 2006. I have been working at the shop for 11 years. He had no idea who I was. And I was actually at first, previously I would have been like, oh, that's kind of sad. But now, yesterday, I was like, yes, we're doing it.
That's a
we're
good
doing
thing,
it.
though. That's a good thing.
It's a
that
great
they didn't
thing.
know. Tina, same with you on a big move like that?
Yeah. For me, I am at home actually today. So
Ooh, wait a minute. I want everyone to hear that. Tina's at home, but Becky, you're in your upstairs office, right?
Yes.
So you haven't completely just go in for 2 days, right?
Taking baby steps.
Okay. But at least you pull the trigger. Okay. Go ahead, Tina.
Yeah. So I am down to 2 days a week. So yeah, for me, it was letting go. I hired the people, and thank goodness I get to pick and choose and go through everything that I need to do to make the best decision on people I bring into my shop, and then let them do their, due diligence, and let them take over with what I hired them to do. Having those policies and procedures in place to be able to give them the opportunity to do so was the biggest part. For me, it was so uncomfortable, really. I've been saying that I'm going to start stepping away for about 2 years. So this last 2 months has really been the big push. So July, I made a commitment. August, I tried, and then, really set into motion that I got all the things hooked up. I got all of the IT situation worked out, and now I can, work from anywhere, which is fantastic. So great staff that lets me do this, it's been a dream. It was the all-time goal. And after 19 years, I'm thankful and totally thrilled that I get to do this now. And
good for you. Now, Kim, you had mentioned processes and policies. And no, I'm sorry, it was you, Tina. But I'm sure, ladies, you could not have done this had you not done, as Tina says, your due diligence on the policies and procedures. Now, was it the team that helped you pull that together, knowing that they were going to they're continuing to work in and have to follow them?
Go ahead, Tina.
Oh, yes. Thanks, Kim. For me, just short, I reached out to a coaching company, and the coaching company and the mentors that I got to meet were the ones that really pushed me forward. I was not in the shop full time until 8 years ago. And it was just run out of my husband's head. So policies, procedures, where things were ordered from, purchased, phone numbers, all of this stuff, had no idea. So it was them that led me forward with, okay, you need to line this up as you were lined up in your dental career, and where you went to work and how they trained you. So step back and let's move forward with, getting some systems in place.
Becky, same with you?
Same with me. I mean, and Kim's always helped me with those kinds of things, but yeah, policies and procedures, you need to have them in place to be able to let the staff know. I always say, if something happens to someone, you need to know what's going on. And so communication's huge here, just making sure everybody's on the same page. But yeah, policies and procedures cannot move forward. I can't do what I'm doing up here away from them if they weren't in place.
So this whole thing about trusting your staff, Becky, work with me a little bit on that. Did you have to make any moves as you were developing this whole move in your mind? Did you make any moves previous to that? Or was it as far as people, or did you literally start working closer with your people, knowing that there was going to be a day to come that you were going to do this?
I think a lot of it for me was that I'm such a perfectionist in how I do things. And so nobody had been able to get to my level. So having to understand that everyone's a little different, and that I had to work towards their strength. But the biggest thing for me, again, this last year is how have I been as a leader? And so, that's been the biggest thing I think for me is just becoming a great leader and realizing that my employees, if I let them do it, that they will step up to the plate. And that's the biggest thing I think Tina, as well. It's like when we step away, I used to freak out when I'd have to leave to go on vacation or, we closed about 5 years ago, we closed from Christmas to New Year's because I didn't want to think about the shop, because if the shop was open, I wasn't there, I was going to be freaking out about it. So we closed the shop down completely. And so now I get to, go to a conference or leave or go on vacation and not have to worry about what they're doing, that I trust them. And I think that with them knowing that I trust them, it brings them to the next level. And I think that in the past I had taken them down and not given them the opportunity to show me what they could really do because they were so worried about doing it Becky's way. And now I allow them to do it their way. It's not exactly the way that maybe I would do it, but that's okay. As they say, there's many ways to skin a cat.
And I'm not, and we don't need to talk numbers, Becky, but I do know we have a long history, and there's the number of employees that you guys had turnover was higher because of that. So not only are you not able to rest and enjoy life and focus on your business when you're not there, then you're also having to always train new people all the time. Mm-hmm. And so that's something, that I know that Becky has shared that, her team is staying, and it's a lot more they're a lot more developed because there's not constantly retraining or new blood in there.
Exactly.
Ladies, this is a bonus. The whole episode is about knowing when it's right to pull the trigger, and just that you brought up one of the biggest moves that you made in your business was to get up and out, or to work in it, to work on it, not in it. That's a bonus for this episode. But Kim, I'd love you to start a dialogue on how to try to make, a big, tough decision, things to think about.
Well, the most recent one was, again, it was many years in the making, and it was kind of forced on us. We were using a point of sale system that they were ready to go into a new level, 12 or whatever, and take it from being an app based to internet based, et cetera, et cetera. But there were some things that we were used to doing in the old system that weren't going to be available. And so it was just one of those decisions like, okay, do we just continue to suffer through and just make it work for us? Or is this when we're just going to take that leap of faith and know it's time to pull the trigger? So what we did, we had meeting after meeting after meeting, and we met with, between Rob and I, and talking about it, is this really the right step for us to do? We have never been busier in this shop. We have never been busier. Is this really the right time to do it? And, and here we are, we're so busy where everybody's, there's not a minute to breathe, the next to breath. And then we're going to throw in this new point of sale system, and not only a point of sale system. Let's talk about the DVI, mm-hmm. and how the shop flow is going to happen. And so it was one of those that we had to get buy-in. We had to buy in ourselves first and foremost. We had to make a decision that this is what we indeed as a business need. Then we had to get buy-in from the employees.
I want to stop you there right now. It sounds like you made a tough decision. And business was great, and it was booming, and we were living in a pandemic world. We didn't know what to do, masks or no masks and all that stuff. But you kind of went down the Q&A of, is it the right decision for the business? Staff was involved. Was it the right time? Probably the answer to that was no.
But it's never going to be the right time. I want to throw that.
That's the point.
It's never going to be the right time.
Point. Absolutely. And I think if you look at those 4 points that I know you're trying to make here, and the timing is never a yes, maybe rarely is it a yes, doesn't mean that if you can answer 3 out of 4 questions. Big decisions, I don't think are vapor. I think, ladies, you write them down. I think you have, it's almost like like a bank balance. There's the left side, there's the right side, there's the yeses, there's the nos, there's the pros, there's the cons. And you look at all this stuff. Sure, you sweat. Sure, you worry. Sure, you talk to people. Sure, you go to your peer network. Sure, you talk to your coach. Sure, you do all these things, but you do them and you move it forward. Decisions can't be made unless you have enough feel right answers that say, hey, life isn't perfect. The decision I'm going to make will not be 100% perfect. Let's do it. I mean, I see you all smiling. I mean, there's a let's do it moment.
But I think it's also important to let your team know and let yourself know that it's not going to be perfect. It was the third day in. It was the Wednesday. We started on the new point of sale on a Monday. It was the third day in. I walked out and I said, because I happen to have 2 female service advisors, I said, ladies, if you need to go home, go home. I'll take care of this. It was too much for them. It was a lot at that particular day. So I walked in with a smile. I came in with a smile. It was endless hours of working to make this happen, to make it as seamless as possible. And it wasn't seamless. However, I had to say, it's okay. It's going to be okay. And I had to believe that it was going to be okay as well, or they wouldn't. And we're still not done with the transition. The transition's going to be forever. And, well, I shouldn't say it feels like forever. And same with what Becky and Tina are going through. There's still transition points, and you got to say it's not going to be perfect, and that's okay.
So, Becky, have you ever made a decision? And because she said earlier, I'm a perfectionist. So, have you ever made a decision when you didn't feel it was perfect, but you just said, "Let's do it"?
Great question. I don't know. I believe that in life you have to take risks, and, there's learning points, if it doesn't work out the way you expect it to. We changed our software system last October, and the staff boycotted me, and we went back to what we did before. And so that was a huge,
Okay. So you win some, you lose some.
Exactly.
Interesting. A boycott. Wow.
Yes.
I don't want to know the details on this show, but I would love to know the details. How you dealt with that. That's interesting. Huh? Look, it's called a rollback, right?
Right.
Well, they felt that if it was working, why'd we change it? And I can understand that. I totally understood that. So it was, as my husband is, what is he, an ancient man in a modern world. And so the staff felt that way about our software system. It was working. We knew it. Leave it alone. So
every
I
once
bowed
in a
down.
while, when that has ever happened to me, Becky, I always put the pressure on me post decision, meaning I lost, they won. And I would say, boy, I didn't sell that well at all.
Totally could have been. It was one of those decisions that was made, like, this is going to take us to the next level. We got this. It's got all the bells and whistles, and they didn't want bells and whistles.
Well, the bells and whistles, it was a statement. We have bells and whistles coming. Maybe let me show you stuff. Don't call it a bell. Don't call it a whistle. Let's say, and again, I think we're helping the industry listen to this and say, we need to do this. But if you don't show the value and forget about the feature has nothing to do with it. It's all about the benefit. It's what's the benefit to the customer? What's the benefit to the company? What's the benefit to you? And if we could look at these 20 things that I'm sold on, that I want to make this move, what do you all agree with? And then reluctantly, they may say yes, but they also had a vote. They thought those benefits would be good for the company. So, yeah, I always say I did a terrible job. I would never be a good car salesman if I couldn't sell
Totally.
it.
Everything you're saying, light bulbs are flashing. I mean, it's like Kim had, talked about, I was the one that was excited about it. I was the one that did all the footwork and getting everything ready, but there was no buy-in from the employees prior. It was more of a, hey, this is what we're going to do, and didn't prepare them for the change, or for the transition. And so, yeah, totally. Light bulbs flashing. I could have done a way better job.
Hey, ladies, let's take a timeout. We'll come back with segment B. How much paper have you touched today? Well, those are piles of time stacked all over the shop. Now think of what you could do with that time and how many more cars you could get through the door. Cha-ching! It's time for a digital shop management system on the web at getshopware.com. Hey, your shop is busy, and keeping your customers on schedule is more important now than ever. Broadly's features keep all your communication in one place so nothing falls through the cracks. On the web at getbroadly.com/chat. Hey, Tina, you made some amazing decisions in your life. Not only are you, like you say, working 2 days a week, but when you left a career and came to work for the business. And I think there's an awful lot of spouses out there that can relate to your story. Give us a little backstory.
Certainly. Yes. So I was in the dental field 28 years. My parents owned an auto repair shop, and I married a mechanic. Backstory with that is we decided to start our own shop. And 2012, my husband Ken was diagnosed with kidney cancer. So it was about 2013. He was given 6 months to live, and I had to make a decision. What was I going to do? Because nothing that we had planned in our goals, they had all changed, right? Cancer comes into anybody's life, and everything is totally dropped on you and switches everything you have in your life. So anyways, I had to make a decision, run the shop or shut it down. I'll have to be honest, I didn't think there was much value in the business at that time. So for selling it. So I went to my staff, which was my shop manager, my stepson, Ken's son, worked there, and my daughter. Talked to them and decided to become the sole owner, carry on, and leave dentistry and make a go at it and carry the legacy forward.
It's an incredible story. I know a lot about the backstory here. Thank you for sharing it. A huge business, 8 people. How many bays? 6 bays. Huge, 7-figure business. You obviously pulled the trigger and made a really smart move.
I did. Thank you. And at that time, I didn't think it. I knew I could be successful to some extent, right? But I didn't know how well. So that fear has driven me before in my life to a positive aspect, right? It gives me a lot of get up and go. So we have a very successful shop. It's been 8 years now since Ken has been gone. I have 8 employees, 6 bays, 3 master mechanics, a B Tech and a C Tech, and 4 of us up front now. Because I just added on what we call a front counter assistant. And I think really bringing Melissa in has given me the opportunity to really delegate, because my daughter is still with me. So between her and my longest employee, Ryan Hutt, my shop manager, 2 of the most trusted people that I have in my life work at my shop. So it gave me the freedom to finally do this trigger again and go home and learn how to work from home.
Was the trigger to pulling the trigger to go home as big as making the decision to be a sole entrepreneur?
No.
Okay.
No.
Leaving the industry, your husband passing, my sympathies to you on that, and then you deciding, hey, I'm going to do this. Those were bigger than the decision to work from home for 2 days, right?
Yeah, that was one of the biggest decisions I had to make in my life.
So let's talk about that, guys. Let's talk about the rocky road that happens after you make a big decision. Anyone want to start?
The decision that when I made, it was 10 years ago, to make the decision to leave my career in commercial property management that was a huge a huge step to step away what my identity was. My identity was my career, and I was fortunate to make six figures during that time, and to walk away from that and, number one, not take a paycheck for a while. Number two, try to fit. There's lots of things. So Tina, I mean, obviously the story is not the same by no means. And again, my sympathies. But it is to take that leap, pull the trigger. And I know Becky came into the shop from her tech husband opening a shop. That's how she came in. So all three of us in different ways had to pull that trigger to come in and leave. And again, that my career was my identity. And so then you come into this new business, this new unfamiliar territory, and all I could do is talk and learn as much as I could. And every second you're going, what did I do? I lost who I am. And Becky may go, while she's upstairs going, I've lost who I am in the fact that I'm not, relating with my customers on a regular basis. I think it's really important to not think about it, what you've lost, who you were, and now, but then you're growing into something that's even more valuable. Tina, with her hugely, successful shop. I know Becky and Brian's shop is amazingly successful, and Robin are very fortunate as well to have very successful shops. But it's not to not lose who you are in the midst of it. And then my last comment on that, one thing I will warn you, and I think I shared this on a previous podcast with you, Carm, was when, Rob and I had been married 17 years at that time. And I started working with him full time. And I thought, I don't know who this gentleman is, because he wasn't such a gentleman at work sometimes, but I don't know who he is. He was not the man that I was married to at home. And so then having to work through that and to make that decision that we're going to persevere, we're going to get better because of this.
And following up on what Kim said, this last year, I've been going through growth like crazy this last year, but for 12 years, I was working in Brian's business, because my husband, this was his dream to open his shop. I was a human resource manager and came on to help him with our new business. And for 12 years, I've helped build it, but I never felt like I was the owner. And last year we went through some stuff, and Brian took a step back and became the foreman of the shop because he was going through what he was going through, and I was asked to kind of step into the owner role. And so that was, for me, it was that was the first time I felt like, oh wait, if he wasn't here, I think I could do this on my own. Kind of what Tina, like, I think I could do this. Like, I don't need him anymore. And it was, for me, huge, because I was now taking ownership, which in the past, this was Brian's. I would always say, like, well, if I decided to leave this, what would I do? Because losing my identity, when I came on board was huge. I didn't know where my role was within the company. I knew I was an owner, on paper, but I never felt like it, because I was always worried that if Brian wasn't involved with this business, could I do it? And it was over just the last year that I finally realized, like, I could actually do this. Like, I could, if I wanted to, go and open up another shop, and I could do it. So multi-shop owner possibilities in the future.
Becky, where did that confidence come from?
For me, it was, as Tina shared, I found, a supporting, I was looking for support in a coaching company, and a lot of that, there was many discussions as to what my role was within the business. Where did I want to see myself going, and having some heart-to-heart discussions, and realizing the biggest thing I'm working on right now is having hard conversations make an easy life versus easy conversations make a hard life. And so right now I'm really, that's what my focus on right now is learning to have hard conversations. Brian tends to do a great job with it. with employees, I don't do so well. Again, it goes back to I'm paying you to do a job, do it. But sometimes you need to be
Right.
able to have those hard conversations with people, to have an easy life. Someone always says, do you want to make your wife cry or do you want to make your employee cry? So
Yes, for me, I'll just tap into that again because exactly what Kim had shared about is at the same time, I was grieving my identity, my career, and losing my husband. So there was a lot of difficulties, and without having mentors and friends that knew of my husband and that heard that I was running the shop and we were keeping it open, show up at my doorstep, I don't know where I would have gone because my lease was up too. That was the other thing. It was coming up. It was due. I haven't had the opportunity to sit down with anybody just yet and really figure out what they were wanting. Because, when we went into this, it was about being there and doing for others, that service industry. And so the longer things had went on, of course, it got better with having that mentor. I started joining a bunch of groups. I joined in with a business development group. I joined in, which just stole my heart, was the kids over at the local vocational school for auto repair. Once again, one of the main teachers over there knew my husband, walked through the door and said, "Hey, we'd like to have you join." And all these opportunities that then solidified, I am where I'm supposed to be.
Tina, you just said so many powerful, powerful things, and I don't want it to just go away. Joined an advisory council, joined a business development group, worked with coaches, and mentors and friends were there for you, either from let me know if you need anything, or willing to just sit down and talk to you. Maybe sometimes you ask, sometimes they give. And the other thing that I was thinking of on everything you were saying was about having an open mind, because I think there's too many narrow-minded people that are struggling, and it's because they can't get out of their own way. Their egos are too strong. And if you're going to pull the trigger on big decisions, you can't get in your own way of doing that. I mean, I think we don't decide, we don't move forward, we don't create change. Kaizen, fix it before it breaks. We don't do that stuff because we are more of the problem, because our mind isn't open enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah. That open-mindedness, that willingness to just push forward and have the courage to try it. Because, what can happen, right? What I was faced with was, a lease that was going to end. I could always go back to dentistry. But if I try this and it doesn't succeed, okay, well, then I'm back where I was. And I'd done all the numbers. I did the pros and cons. I laid things out on paper, because for many years we lived off of my dental. If you people, everybody out there knows
Happens
that
all the time.
happens all the
Yeah,
time,
it does.
So we lived off of my dental career. So, I could return to that, and
Wow.
things were going to be okay.
Thanks, Tina. Let's take another time out, and we'll come back. I think I've got a great way to finish out this great episode. Every piece of paper you touch adds up to seconds, minutes, and hours of your staff's time. Get paper out of your business and unlock your employees' potential with Shopware's digital shop management software on the web at getshopware.com. Are you tired of wasting money on ads that no one sees? Well, Broadly can change that. Broadly gets you more Google reviews so prospects will see your shop when they search for auto repair in your area. On the web at getbroadly.com/chat. Ladies, this was an incredible discussion, and I want to do a last call with one thing in mind. So we're here to talk about finding the right time to pull the trigger, but Tina, you just said a word that I wrote down, and this is the word that should have been in the title of our episode. You said the word courage.
Yes.
And that to me rocked me, and I think was missing from the first 30 minutes of our discussion. You nailed it. So, ladies, I'm not sure exactly what question to ask, but how important is courage in pulling a trigger to make a great decision? Let's just go around the room. Tina, bring it back to us. Give us a little bit more on courage.
Yeah, courage. It's so important, right? It's one of the main attributes of me being able to be where I'm at today. So there's been many things that have transpired in my life that I had to just walk through. I had to step over, and don't get this wrong, some people and some places in order to continue to be the person I want to be and the life that I want to live. So, and that took courage. So for me, it's huge. I'm actually kind of speechless over it right now. That
That's okay.
it tightens my chest because it is, like Kim talked about very early on in the segment. It's the courage to change too.
Yeah.
It's. So
thank you for bringing that up, Kim. Everyone here, this is an incredibly strong and very worthwhile episode for everyone to listen to find out what it takes to make tough decisions. Maybe that's another great word that should have been in the title, pulling the trigger. How, do you have the courage to make tough decisions? Maybe that's the title now that we've heard this. Kim, a little on courage?
Well, I mean, when you say courage, I automatically thought of the Cowardly Lion, Wizard of Oz, and he wanted to change. He wanted to have the courage, and so he sought out the friends that would take him along the trail, to get courage. And if you don't have courage, first of all, none of us would be talking with Carm today, because we either were part of or instrumental in our husbands making the decision to open the shop to start with. That's courage right there. Our incomes are going to change, consistent incomes. We may not get health insurance. We may, all these things. So if you don't think you have courage if you're in this industry. This is a difficult industry to not have courage and be brave in, or it can be. But if you don't have courage, if you're not going to make those changes to be better, then get off the path. You're not going to find the yellow brick road. And I know all three shops that are on here, we found the yellow brick road because I know these shops, and that, it is a great path to stay along. And if you do have courage, if you're here, you're listening, you have courage, period.
Thank you, Kim. Ladies, do you still like to watch The Wizard of Oz?
I love it. It's one of my favorite. It's also kind of, as I grow older, it's also kind of creepier than I remember when I was little too.
Those little munchkins, man.
They're a little creepy.
Yeah, I know. Becky, take it home.
So when I hear the word courage, when we started talking about that, the first word that popped in my head is faith. Faith without works, that I needed to believe that there was a reason we were brought to this point, because Brian 13 years ago was working at a dealership that closed its doors. And we were at the point of, we had always had the discussion, Brian had always said, if I had my own shop. So here we were with him not having a job and what we were going to do next. And it's just, I believe that with faith and courage and the passion, we were able to build this. And so courage, but when I hear courage, I think of faith as well.
Can you share the irony of that, Becky? This is a great story.
So 13 years ago, when Brian lost his job, the dealership he was working at, 10 years after we had opened the business, we were able to come back and purchase the building, the dealership that he had closed his doors, that it, had opened up the opportunity to go and open up our own shop. So 3 years ago, we were able to purchase the building. So yeah, so we feel very fortunate. It's a beautiful building that was set up for a dealership. And so everything has happened exactly the way that it was supposed to, as long as Brian and I put the work in, that needs to be done.
And have the courage.
And have the courage to do it. Yes, to
Oh.
trust.
Oh, cool. We've got to get a tour of your place, Becky. All right. Love it. Hey, ladies, incredible job. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing your heartfelt honesty. Kim Auernheimer, CS Automotive, Brentwood, Tennessee. Becky McGinnis, Auto Vantage Service Center in Auburn, California. And Tina Erickson, Ken's Auto Service, Aurora, Colorado. Thanks, ladies.
Thanks, Carm.
Thanks, Carm.